Dolly Parton finally decided to share the truth she kept locked away for decades. She always said she built her life on music, dreams, and hard work. But she never admitted that her heart had been shaped by 5 hidden loves. 5 people who changed her soul long before the world knew her name. She had kept these stories inside because she feared they would distract from her music or harm the people involved. But now, at this stage of her life, she felt ready to let the world know that the reason her songs felt so emotional was because they came from real experiences she never talked about. She explained that these 5 loves were not famous people, not celebrities, and not the kind of stories the world expected. They were ordinary people who crossed her path at the right moments, people who helped her grow, who broke her heart, who healed her again, and who taught her how to see the world with tenderness and courage. She said each of them lived in her songs, even if she never said their names out loud. The first love came when she was just a teenager living in the Smoky Mountains. He was a boy who dreamed of leaving the mountains and seeing the world. Dolly said he taught her what longing felt like. He pushed her to dream bigger than her surroundings. When he left without saying goodbye, she cried for days, and that heartbreak planted the seeds for her earliest songs. She said this boy became the silent engine that moved her toward Nashville because she wanted to chase her own dreams the way he chased his. The second love came when she first arrived in Nashville, an older musician who believed in her more than she believed in herself. He encouraged her to write her stories into songs instead of hiding behind cheerful melodies. He helped her see that vulnerability was strength. But their paths drifted apart as her career grew, and Dolly always wondered if he knew how deeply he shaped her voice. As she spoke about these hidden loves, she didn't reveal their names yet. She said the world didn't know these people, but they would understand the emotions they brought into her life. She promised to open the door slowly and share the truth about all 5. 1 chapter at a time. Dolly Parton said the third hidden love entered her life at a moment when she felt completely lost. She had moved to Nashville with big hopes, but the early years were harder than she expected. She was living in a tiny apartment, struggling to pay bills, writing songs nobody wanted to buy, and wondering if she had made a mistake leaving home. At that low point, she met a man who worked at a small recording studio. He wasn't rich or powerful, but he had kindness in his eyes and a belief in her talent that she desperately needed. She said this love wasn't romantic in the way people imagine. It was deeper than that. It was emotional rescue. He listened to her songs patiently, even when she doubted herself. He pushed her to submit her music to more producers. He told her that the world needed her voice, even if it didn't know it yet. She remembered one night when she cried because another record label rejected her demo. He sat with her for hours, telling her stories of artists who failed before they succeeded. That night, he convinced her not to give up. She said what made this love so powerful was that it asked for nothing in return. He didn't want fame, he didn't want credit, and he never claimed to be the reason for her success. He simply cared for her at a time when she felt invisible. She never forgot that. She believed that without him, she may have given up long before the world ever heard Jolene, Coat of Many Colors, or I Will Always Love You. But like all stories with tender beginnings, this one also came to an end. When Dolly got her first real break and her schedule exploded, their paths naturally separated. She said he quietly stepped away, proud of her, but knowing that her rising career would demand everything she had. They didn't fight. They didn't drift in bitterness. They simply moved into different worlds. Years later, when Dolly looked back, she realized he was one of the reasons she survived Nashville's tough early years. She called him the love who saved her spirit, the love who believed when she didn't, and the love who disappeared once she was strong enough to stand on her own. She said this story was the reason she always tried to help young artists. Someone once saved her, and she wanted to pass that gift forward. Dolly Parton revealed that the fourth hidden love was the most complicated, the most intense, and the one she tried hardest to forget. She described it as a forbidden love, not because it was scandalous, but because it arrived at the wrong time in her life. She was rising fast in the music world, surrounded by contracts, tours, and endless expectations. She met a man who was gentle, calm, and completely outside the entertainment industry. He didn't care about fame, cameras, or crowds. He cared about quiet evenings, long conversations, and a life far from the chaos she lived in. She said what made this love dangerous was the simplicity it offered. For the first time, she felt what it might be like to have a normal life. A life without pressure, without headlines, without constant travel. He made her imagine a world where she could slow down, live quietly, and maybe even disappear from the spotlight. She felt safe with him in a way she didn't feel anywhere else. But that safety came with a cost. It made her question everything she had built. She kept their connection hidden, meeting him only in private moments, away from reporters and industry eyes. They talked for hours about dreams, fears, and the strange loneliness that comes with fame. She said he understood her heart better than many people she had known for years. He gave her peace, but he also made her feel torn between love and responsibility. The breaking point came when he asked her a simple question. Do you ever want a life that's just yours? Dolly knew what he meant. He wanted a future where they could be together without her career swallowing every moment they had. But she also knew her music was not just a job. It was part of her soul. Walking away from fame would have meant walking away from the dreams she fought so hard to achieve. She tried to hold both, the man and the music, but she realized she couldn't. One of them would break, and she couldn't let it be the dream she carried since childhood. So she ended the relationship, even though she didn't want to. She said it was the hardest goodbye she ever made. When she talked about him, her voice softened. She said he was the love that broke her heart, because he showed her a different life. A quieter life she would never live. And even today, she sometimes wonders what might have happened if she chose differently. Dolly Parton said the fifth hidden love was the most painful in a different way. It wasn't forbidden, it wasn't romantic chaos, and it wasn't a story of chance timing. This love was something deeper, something she carried quietly, because she knew from the very beginning that she could never claim it. She described it as a love that lived in the spaces between friendship, admiration, and longing. Something real, yet impossible. She met this person during a period when her career was at its peak. She was traveling constantly, performing on the biggest stages, and becoming a global icon. Everywhere she went, cameras followed, fans shouted her name, and the world wanted a piece of her. But in the middle of all that noise, she found someone who saw her not as Dolly Parton the superstar, but as Dolly the human being. He noticed her exhaustion, her laughter, her fears, and her quiet wish for more ordinary moments. She said this love felt like a whisper in a crowded room, something only the two of them understood. They never spoke openly about it, but they knew it was there. Every conversation carried a warmth that didn't need to be explained. They shared secrets, dreams, and stories about their families. They trusted each other in a way that didn't need labels. It was deep, emotional, and powerful, but unspoken. Dolly admitted that part of her wished things were different. She wished timing, life, and circumstances allowed her to openly love this person, but she also knew that both of them had responsibilities, commitments, and paths that couldn't be changed. She said sometimes the strongest love is the one you never touch, because touching it would break too many things. She remembered a moment when they sat together after a long day, talking about life and how unpredictable it was. He told her he admired her strength, her kindness, and her ability to stay grounded even when the world tried to lift her too high. She said those words stayed with her for years. She didn't need more. That moment was enough. Their connection never became a relationship, but it became a part of her heart. She called it the love she could never claim, the love that taught her that emotions don't always need to be acted on to be real. Some loves are meant to stay quiet, exist between lines, and live through songs that listeners feel but never fully understand. Dolly Parton said the final hidden love was not dramatic, forbidden, or shaped by timing. It was the love that arrived quietly, stayed patiently, and transformed her life more than any fame, song, or dream ever could. She described this last love as the anchor, the person who taught her what stability, loyalty, and true partnership meant. Unlike the others, this love didn't break her heart or push her toward fame. Instead, It grounded her, guided her, and helped her protect her happiness in a world that constantly tried to take it from her. She met him at a point when she no longer needed someone to save her or influence her career. She had already become a name people recognized, but inside, she still carried uncertainties and fears. This person entered her life with no desire to be in the spotlight. He preferred quiet spaces, warm conversations, and the simple joy of being close to someone without demanding anything in return. He offered her something she rarely experienced: normalcy. Dolly said this love changed her because it taught her to slow down. He showed her that she didn't always need to be on, entertaining, smiling, or performing. With him, she could sit in silence, watch the mountains, laugh over small things, or cry without explaining why. He accepted her fully, not as a star, but as a woman with dreams, fears, and a heart that had been bruised too many times. He brought stability to her chaotic world. When she felt overwhelmed by fame, he reminded her that home was more than a place. It was a feeling. When she doubted her choices, he reassured her that she didn't need to prove anything to anyone. When she struggled with the pressure of being Dolly Parton, he told her that she was enough. What made this love special was its lasting power. While the other hidden loves faded with time, this one grew stronger. She said he didn't try to change her career or interfere with her dreams. Instead, he protected the part of her that fame couldn't touch. She admitted that without him, she might have lost herself in the world's expectations. She kept his story private for decades because it was the one thing she wanted for herself, the one love that wasn't tied to the spotlight. But now, she believed the world could understand that even the brightest stars need someone who loves them quietly, simply, and truly. Dolly Parton said that revealing the 5 hidden loves of her life was never about creating shock or inviting scandal. It was about honesty, and honesty she felt she owed herself after decades of holding these stories inside. For years, people assumed her songs came from imagination, creative storytelling, or old family memories. But now she wanted her fans to know the deeper truth. Every lyric, every melody, and every tear hidden within her music came from real emotions shaped by these 5 powerful connections. She said each love gave her something she carried forever. The first taught her how to dream. The second taught her strength when she wanted to give up. The third taught her the cost of choosing her destiny. The fourth taught her the beauty of unspoken connections. And the fifth taught her the meaning of true, lasting peace. Together, these 5 loves built the emotional foundation of her life. They shaped the songs the world sings today without knowing the stories behind them. When she finally revealed these loves, she did not mention names, and she insisted she never would. She believed the world didn't need to know who the individuals were. What mattered was what they represented: growth, pain, courage, inspiration, and healing. She wanted people to understand that behind every public figure is a private world full of complicated emotions that never make it to the stage. In her message to the world, she said she hoped people would learn something universal: that love doesn't always look the way we expect. Sometimes it ends too soon. Sometimes it stays silent, sometimes it saves us, and sometimes it stays with us for a lifetime, even if the world never sees it. She reminded everyone that the greatest songs often come from the quietest hurts and the most hidden joys. She also spoke to anyone who felt their love stories were unfinished or imperfect. She said there is beauty in every chapter, even the painful ones. Everyone meets people who change them, even if those people don't stay forever. And those connections can shape a life more deeply than any fame or success ever could. In closing, she said she revealed these 5 loves not for attention, but for peace. After a lifetime of keeping these feelings inside, she wanted to free herself and show her fans that even a legend has a tender, private heart. She ended by saying that her music will always carry pieces of those 5 souls, and that love, in all its forms, was the real secret behind her legacy.